All right, Agent explains why peer-to-peer is finished, bro. Let's see what Agent talking about, man. Let's jump right in, to be honest.
Look, a lot of people have been hitting me up saying what happened to peer-to-peer, this, that, the third. Let me talk about that real quick before we get started. Let me talk about that. Look, bro. All right.
Cause like, bro, y'all know that the peer-to-peer podcast, like, bro, I've been watching his podcast. Okay, W pause, by the way. But I've been watching that podcast for a minute. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. Like ever since it started, like when he started it, I remember like the promo, like, oh, the peer-to-peer podcast with like all the promo and shit. I remember Playback when he started all of his channels. Bro, I am an OG of this nigga right here, bro. Like I am an OG, bro. And because like, dude, I remember when he just had the Agent channel and maybe like the second channel, and then when he started really branching out, like, yeah, that's when stuff started to get serious. But like, dude, I remember the start of the peer-to-peer. I can't believe it's over, bro, but let's see why.
A lot of this thing, I dropped the peer-to-peer podcast because AMP podcast is coming up. It's not true. AMP podcast supposed to been came out. We talked about it like 4 or 5 months ago. It has very little to do with that. Not nothing. It would be like, you know, but it has very little to do with that. For those who don't know, I had a podcast for a while called the Peer-to-Peer Podcast for 3 years. I love talking to Marcel, Legend of Winning. Y'all know Legend of Winning by now. I had a podcast years ago in like 2014 with him called the AO Podcast. That eventually ended. And then I had another podcast with him called Off Top. That eventually ended. Those were sports heavy podcasts. So I was like, yo, bro, I still want to do. Did I not put out my tweet? I'm so sorry. Oh, I put it up twice. Oh, okay. My fault. So I put up we did another podcast. This time we called it Peer-to-Peer, and this time it had nothing to do with 2K. It had nothing to do with basketball, nothing. It just had to do with life.
Yeah, because I remember he was trying to branch out. He was trying to like, this was when he started to like try and, you know, diversify himself.
It was getting boring talking about 2K all the time. I wanted to do other things. So that's why Peer-to-Peer was born. Because I was like, yo, Lo, we should do another podcast. Lo's always down to try, just do shit with me. And I love talking to Lo. We have conversations all the time. And back then, if you remember, me and Marcel lived together. So it was a pretty layup of a decision. And it was just a little different because neither of us have ever tried anything outside of what we were known for. You know, Lo was known for NBA. I was known for 2K. We're like, fuck it, but let's just do peer-to-peer. And let's have it do nothing with what we did. Like, I don't even want my 2K audience really to be on this channel. I'll do a couple promos for those interested. I'm not gonna badger people or force people. If you want to pull up to it, you want to pull up to it. Let's build an organic audience. So over the last almost 3 years, we've done that, and it's been honestly, that's the main reason why I held on to it for as long as I did, because the community was just, it felt so special, because it takes a certain type of person to like want to watch an entire podcast. Even me, like most people kind of just watch a podcast once every couple months, shit like that. But the love I will receive from the
like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. Only niggas that made it can really start a podcast and have it be successful, though. I'm not even gonna cap to you. Like, if you ain't got some success, it's hard to make it in the podcast, because why watch your little weak ass podcast when I can just go to Joe Rogan and he's got Stephen Curry on his podcast? You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Different than any other channel I had, and I have so many fucking channels that it made me want to always continue even when I wasn't really enjoying doing the pod anymore. So more so I was doing it for not only the community but also because people's jobs are involved, you know what I'm saying? And then I just realized, like,
when the money's on the line, it's time to grind, you feel me?
Let me not continue to do something that I'm no longer really interested in just because I'm worried about how it affects other people. Like, Waleed's not going to be affected regardless. There's going to be no planet where, like, Waleed is taking the L because I don't want to do the podcast no more. So, at the end of the day, I just couldn't handle all the priorities on my plate. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's not just the podcast. Even in my personal life. Like, there's times where my mom can't even get a hold of me, and I feel bad. But it's like all the people around me understand that I'm almost always shooting something. But at the same time, like, once you take a step back from content for a second, it hits you like there's so many other things that matter, and sometimes you can't forget about those things because they're also really important. At the end of the day, those are the most.
That's some real shit right there. I ain't even gonna lie, that's real.
For example, I'll be tight that I wasn't willing to or able to help in the way I should have. I wasn't able to provide time, etc., etc. Talk about John. John's been like brilliant on the podcast. John has originally was just supposed to be a producer, right? and we gave him a microphone and a camera, and he was like, he became like, honestly, if it wasn't for John, I probably would have left a lot sooner, because he just made it so fun to be a part of. Because at the end of the day, the podcast was fun to do. It's just on the list of priorities, I wasn't giving it the attention it deserved, nor was anybody else. Nor was anybody else. Everybody had a priority that was more important than peer-to-peer, and you can tell by the way we were executing, because even if you enjoyed the podcast, I'm sure you've seen podcasts where you're like, damn, how the fuck did they let this slip? How the fuck did they let this slip? And so, it's
I mean,
always
it
my
happens,
goal
man.
to
Like, you start something new and, like, you go full force at it. And you may even do it consistently for, like, a year. Like, it may be, like, really good for you for, like, a year, even. You know, a couple days, couple months, a year, something like that. But as soon as you lose it, man, you lose it. Like, I remember I have a pod with my brother, and it's just like, dude, like, we were going hard, like, everyday content for a year, bro, for literally a year. And then, like, we both just lost it. We weren't seeing no results. We weren't seeing, I mean, now, you know, we're starting to pop off, but it's just like, dang, bro, like, yeah, once you lose the passion, it's real hard to get it back, especially with a busy schedule. We both got busy schedules now. It's like crazy.
I might start something for it to last forever, because I don't like starting things that end, because it just feels pointless at that point. Why not commit to something that I like seeing long-term prospects. That's the shit that excites me. So I never had any intention for the pod to end, but we tried to grow it as much as we could. But in all reality, any time I spent on the podcast was time I wasn't spending on AMP. And AMP is demanding. It's time I wasn't spending on stream. The stream is demanding. It was time I wasn't spending on many other things that I could have been spending my time on. And it just felt like I was half-assing something that deserved serious attention. And I know, even though the podcast
are hard.
did good,
Podcasts
it could
are
have
hard.
done great had any one of us been able to give it that attention. So, like 6 to 8 months ago, I had a convo with Lo. I was like,
That's why I don't know how Logan Paul motherfucking does it, man, because that dude grinds, bro. I mean, he doesn't shoot, like, YouTube videos really anymore. Those are sporadic. But man started a drink company. He's training for WWE. I mean, I guess not right now, but, like, normally would be training for WWE. And then he hops on Impulsive and does a pod and gets a special guest. And plus has, like, other stuff as well. Like, dang, bro. He's got other projects as well. Like his crypto zoo and stuff. Like, bro. Because, like, a pod's demanding. You got to network. You got to reach out with the celebrities. You have a whole podcasting team. I mean, I don't. Like, we don't. But, like, we haven't made it yet. You know what I mean? But, like, when you make it, you got a whole podcast team. You got people relying on you for their income, for you to go in every week and just do a podcast. And it may seem like 1 to 2 hours of your time, but that's 1 to 2 hours plus that you're not. Because, like, dude, I bet there's extras in podcasts. Maybe not. You know, some people just do one-take Drakes. I bet, like, Impulsive does it. Joe Rogan probably does it. But it's just, like, there's some pods where, like, they cut stuff out. You know what I mean? And it's just, like, but even then, it's, like, you got to do the pre, the post, the during the pod stuff. Like, it's tough.
yeah, I'm just not enjoying it as much. I explained to him where my head was at, and we decided to take a break for a few weeks. If you remember, we took a break. It was because of me. And we also decided to scale back from 2 podcasts to 1 podcast. And that was more palatable for all of us, because Lo's getting a little bit busier as he has other obligations and shit. And I don't know how it happens, but I keep getting busier and fucking busier. So it makes sense for both of us to scale back on the amount of podcasts and just make sure that the 1 podcast we dropped that week, we were knocking it out the park. I don't know. Things just began to get like, it began to get to the point where I would see it more as an obligation than something I was passionate about. And I know I'm spoiled in the sense that, like, a lot of things I do, I'm really passionate about. Not everybody gets that luxury. So I'm thankful regardless at the end of the day. I wasn't going there pissed, but I would go there and think, like, damn, I can't shoot this right now. Or I got to reschedule this with this person. And you do that enough times and it starts to take a toll. But the podcast is especially difficult because when you have guests on a podcast, your guest time,
You got to work around that schedule.
So if this person can only do a pod at this hour, and they have to, like, delay it 2 hours because they missed a flight, or they were at the club or whatever the fuck. Now I'm moving on other people's schedule and I'm incredibly busy. So it's like torpedoing my day just trying to get this podcast in. So yeah, anyway, and I felt the same thing happening with Lo. Lo would drop everything the same way. And so I had another convo with Lo like a month ago, and I was like, this is where my head's at. And I originally didn't even want to end it for real, obviously, because it's something that I care about, and I want things I care about to last forever. That's what gets me excited. And he didn't have much interest in doing the pod without me there. And I wish things like played differently. But to be honest with you, I'm not even in the business of being upset about what was. I'm excited. I'm happy and thankful that even happened, that we were even able to build like a dope ass community just off the strength of us having conversations about things happening in the world or talking to guests. And so I'd rather spend more time celebrating that it happened. Like, it was a dope podcast and it did well. We had some incredible moments. We had great guests, and like there's moments I'll never forget, and it was convos I had on the fucking podcast. So I'm more so happy that it happened than upset that it's no longer happening, because there's eras and stages to life.
Hey, that's the W mindset. You know what I mean? You just gotta move on. Like, when you get tired of stuff, really, like, he'll find some other stuff, you know. Do I think they'll come back to it? Probably not, but like, you never know. You know what I mean? Like, could be another couple years and then, you know, back to it. You know what I'm saying? So really just be happy that it happened.
The era and stage that you're in currently might not be the one that you're gonna be in forever. It might be over tomorrow or 4 years from now. So I don't know when we might not be in a house with some of my best friends anymore. Like, it might be over, and instead of being upset, I'll be happy that it even happened. So that gratitude is what kind of carries me, because I can't control everything. I only could control very little. And so I don't want to pretend like I have the control to get all the results I want all the time, and I could always have my way. I don't have this picture perfect worldview. I know that things are gonna go wrong, and I just want to appreciate every moment for what it is. And right now, chat, it is a 24-hour stream, and when it's over, I'll be very happy that this shit fucking happened. And I'm hoping that we can have a lot of dope-ass fucking memories here. We're like, yo, remember that first 24-hour stream where he did this, that, the third? And that's that. And then so it get me excited for the next one. But when I do the next one, I'm not going to think about this one. I'm going to be on like, yo, this next one, I want this to have its own memories and moments.
Yeah.
And like, when we call
that's that progression.
Like, that was a good memory right there. Because at the end of the day, but all you have is your fucking memories. You can live all the moments you want to, bro, but your memories is what makes your life worth living, man. So, hey, let's have some good memories here today, man. At 24-hour stream, let's have a good fucking time. Hey, big shout out peer-to-peer, man. It's RIP, man. I was hoping it didn't go so abrupt, but like, you can't always control how shit like unfolds. It just so happened that like the last few weeks, I've just been like beyond busy, just doing this, streaming, fucking overtime stuff. Like, I've just been everywhere, so I haven't had time to do the pod, and we're like, man, but it's a natural finish if we just end it right here. And Lo discussed, you know, his whole situation on the pod too, so it was a good last podcast. It was a nice way to wrap things up, man. So clap it up for fucking peer-to-peer.
Yeah, clap that up.
Big RIP to peer-to-peer.
You know what I'm saying? Big RIP.
Hey, that's a life thing, man. I don't expect none of y'all to be perfect. You're gonna have good moments, but just appreciate them. When Lo left the house, when I lived with Lo and Lo left the house, for a moment I was upset. I was like, yo, bro, I really appreciated living with this guy. But then I just became so grateful that we even had 2 years living together, and it was fantastic. And the same thing is gonna apply with the old A&P house. I'm not disappointed it's gone. I'm excited it never happened, and the same will happen to this house, bro. So that's just my mindset on things, man. But I just wanted to address that.
W mindset.
W
mindset.
Like midway through the pod, and so some people were still surprised that the pod was ending. You feel me?
Yeah, no, that's a W mindset.